The night the glass towers of Manhattan reflected rain like falling stars, everything that looked powerful on the outside was already breaking inside. Amelia Grant, the billionaire CEO admired on magazine covers and whispered about in boardrooms, stood alone in her penthouse with a trembling heart, realizing that money had never taught her how to be loved. She had built empires, signed billion-dollar deals, and raised her daughter with fierce devotion, yet the silence of that night was louder than any applause she had ever received. And it was on a night like this, when pride finally collapsed under the weight of loneliness, that a single decision would change two lives forever. Before the story unfolds further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that love can rise from the most unexpected places, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories like this. And tell Nonis in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like these connect hearts across the world. Amelia Grant had not always been alone. Years earlier, she had been a young woman in love, married to a brilliant man whose dreams matched her own ambition. Together they had built Grant Technologies from a rented office with cracked windows and borrowed furniture. But success had a way of exposing hidden cracks. Her husband faded into the shadows of addiction and resentment, leaving Amelia to fight for both the company and the life growing inside her. When her daughter Lily was born, Amelia became a single mother overnight, holding a newborn in one arm and a collapsing empire in the other. She survived by becoming harder, sharper, untouchable. The world respected her strength, but no one saw the nights she cried silently so her daughter would never hear. Years passed, and Grant Technologies rose like a giant. Amelia became one of the richest women in the country, admired for her discipline and feared for her precision. Her penthouse overlooked the city, her car doors opened themselves, and strangers smiled nervously when she passed. Yet Lily grew up watching her mother stare out of windows instead of into hearts. Amelia tried dating again, but every man saw her fortune before her soul. Some wanted power, others wanted protection, and none stayed long enough to understand her quiet fears. In the same building where Amelia ruled from the top floor, Ethan Parker worked quietly on the lowest levels. He was the janitor who arrived before sunrise and left after midnight, pushing his cart through hallways that smelled of polish and ambition. Ethan was a widower, a man whose wife had died young, leaving him with memories he carried like folded letters in his chest. Once, he had been an engineer with promise, but life had demanded sacrifices, and he had stepped away from his dreams to care for his sick wife. When she passed, all that remained was grief and a job that paid the bills and kept his hands busy enough to stop his thoughts from breaking him. Amelia noticed Ethan slowly, the way one notices light through a crack. He never rushed, never complained, and always greeted people with a gentle nod. When Lily stayed late at the office waiting for her mother, Ethan would leave a clean desk and sometimes a small folded paper crane made from scrap paper, without ever seeking credit. Lily smiled more on those evenings. Amelia saw that smile and followed its trail back to a man in a janitor's uniform. Over time, Amelia began to notice details she had ignored in others for years. Ethan's eyes held patience, not hunger. His presence felt steady, not demanding. When her world shook with lawsuits, betrayals, and endless pressure, Ethan remained unchanged, quietly cleaning the messes of others without losing himself. Amelia found herself timing her evenings, lingering longer, not to speak, but to feel less alone in the building that echoed with power but lacked warmth. The breaking point came when Amelia's board threatened to force a merger that would cost her control of the company she had bled for. At the same time, Lily began asking why her mother never smiled like other moms. One evening, after a brutal meeting and a lonely drive home, Amelia returned to the office unexpectedly and found Ethan still working, wiping rainwater from the marble floor. In that moment, stripped of titles and armor, Amelia felt something she had not allowed herself to feel in years. She felt desperate for a future that was not empty. Days later, Amelia did something the media would have called unthinkable if they had known. She asked Ethan to meet her privately. Not as a CEO to an employee, but as a woman drowning in success and starving for meaning. Her words came out heavy and raw, shaped by fear rather than strategy. She begged him to marry her, not for appearances, not for money, but because she saw in him the peace she could never buy. She offered him everything she had built, believing that love, if it came at all, would have to be purchased like everything else in her life. Ethan did not respond with excitement or disbelief. Instead, he felt the weight of her request settle deep in his chest. He saw a woman who had conquered the world but never healed herself. And what he asked in return shocked Amelia more than rejection ever could. He did not ask for money, status, or escape from his job. He asked for time, humility, and truth. He asked that Amelia step down from her throne in private life, that she spend a year living simply, without privilege shaping every interaction. He asked that Lily be raised not by nannies alone, but by hands that cooked, cleaned, and comforted. He asked that they serve together at shelters, that wealth be shared without cameras, and that he remain a janitor by choice, not by limitation, until Amelia learned to see people without numbers attached to them. The request shattered Amelia's understanding of power. No one had ever refused her advantages before. No one had ever asked her to become smaller to become whole. The year that followed was the hardest of her life. Amelia traded gala dinners for soup kitchens, designer heels for worn shoes, and boardroom commands for quiet listening. She learned the names of people she once passed without seeing. She learned how to sit with pain without trying to fix it with money. Lily flourished, laughing freely, growing closer to Ethan in a way that healed something ancient in all of them. As seasons changed, so did Amelia. Her company stabilized without her micromanagement. Her heart softened without losing strength. Ethan remained steady, never guiding, never judging, simply present. Love grew not from rescue, but from respect. When the year ended, there was no grand proposal, no headline-worthy moment. There was only a shared understanding that two broken paths had formed one honest road. Just before the ending, take a moment to comment what this story means to you and what you believe true love really asks from us. When Amelia and Ethan finally chose each other, it was not because one begged and the other agreed, but because both had learned to meet in the middle of humanity. Their marriage was quiet, their joy loud only in the ways that mattered. Amelia remained powerful, but no longer lonely. Ethan remained humble, but never invisible. And Lily grew up watching a love built not on wealth or pity, but on patience and dignity. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love is not about what we give, but who we become, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps stories like this alive, and somewhere out there, someone needs this reminder today.